Have you ever wondered how some companies can just take this giant, messy pile of data and somehow turn it into crystal clear answers? Well, it's not magic, I can tell you that. It's a playbook, and today we're going to walk through that playbook step by step.
So this is really the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you take all that data, which honestly can just feel like a huge cost, and turn it into something that actually moves the needle for the business? Because without a structured process, let's be real, it's all just noise.
The answer, it turns out, is this: the Data Analytics Lifecycle. It's a 6-phase journey, and it's the exact roadmap we're going to follow. Now, to make this feel real and not just like a textbook, we're going to track a case study of a company that was drowning in customer support tickets and needed a way out. First things first, we need a blueprint. That's phase 1, discovery. And look, I'm going to say this right now, this is probably the most important step of the whole thing. If you mess this up, everything that comes after it is pretty much a waste of time. See, the best analytics projects, they don't start with data. They start with a really well-defined business problem.
The team in our case study didn't just jump into a database. Nope. They started with this really simple but incredibly powerful question. This became their North Star for the entire project. Everything they did from here on out had to help answer this question.
But discovery is more than just asking a question, you know? It's about building a shared plan. It's about getting everyone on the same page. As you can see here, you get super specific. You define exactly what success looks like. Like, we want to reduce tickets by 20%, and you figure out what data you even have to work with. This whole phase is designed to stop the #1 project killer out there, solving the wrong problem. Okay, so we've got our blueprint, we know why we're doing this, now it's time to build the foundation. And that brings us to phase 2, which is all about data preparation. Because even the most brilliant plan will totally fall apart if it's built on a foundation of messy, unreliable data.
And this slide right here just says it all, doesn't it? Let's be honest, most of the time, raw data is a complete disaster. It's full of errors, it's got duplicates all over the place, it's wildly inconsistent. The whole goal of this phase is to wrestle that chaos into a clean, structured, analysis-ready data set. You just can't build solid insights on shaky ground.
So how does that magical transformation actually happen? Well, a lot of the time it's through a process called ETL. It stands for extract, transform, and load. Just think of it like the plumbing for your data, right? It extracts all the raw, dirty water from a bunch of different sources. It runs it through a filter, that's the transform part, and then it loads that clean, usable water into one central tank where you can actually analyze. All right, so blueprint? Check. Solid foundation? Poured and ready. Now, we get to build the engine. This is where we get into the next 2 phases, model planning and execution. This is where the data science magic really starts to happen. Now, it is so important to see these as 2 totally separate steps. Phase 3, planning, that's like being the architect. You're at the drafting table, meticulously designing the blueprint for your engine. Then comes phase 4, execution. That's when the construction crew shows up with their hard hats and power tools to actually bring that design to life, building it, testing it, and tweaking it over and over until it works perfectly. So for our case study team, the plan was super clear. They decided on what's called a classification model, which is perfect for this kind of yes or no question. They wanted to predict which specific customers were likely to submit tickets. And they focused on a few key things, like how long someone had been a customer and what product version they were using. So how did their engine actually perform once they built it? Well, it ended up with a precision of 0.82. Now, what on earth does that mean? In plain English, when the model pointed to a customer and said, hey, this one is a high risk, it was right 82% of the time. That's pretty good. Very few false alarms. But that's not all. It also had a recall of 0.76. This means it was also great at finding most of the trouble before it even started. It successfully flagged 76% of all the customers who were actually going to submit a ticket. So the engine wasn't just accurate when it made a prediction, it was also really thorough. So we have this amazing engine. It's accurate, it's thorough, but honestly, this is the graveyard where so many data projects go to die, in the lab. A powerful model is completely useless if it's just a bunch of numbers on a data scientist's screen. The final phases, and you could argue the hardest ones, are all about turning that engine into real-world action. This is why communication is just so critical. The goal is to translate your findings. It's not about showing off with complex math. It's about telling a simple, clear story that the business leaders can actually understand and, more importantly, act on. That's how you build trust. That's how you make sure your insights get used. And this is what that clear story looks like in the real world. The team didn't just walk into a meeting and say, hey, our model has 82% precision. No way. They said, our model found a specific group of at-risk customers that we need to call right now. And by the way, it's telling us our new product versions are really confusing people. See that? They translated the what from the data into the so what for the business. So they put the plan into action. The support team got a new dashboard. They started making those proactive calls. But the big question is, did it work? Oh yeah, it worked. Here it is, the ultimate payoff. A real, measurable 18% reduction in support tickets. This is what turning data into real value actually looks like. And if you take just one single thing away from this whole explainer, please let it be this. The success here didn't come from some fancy, complicated algorithm. It came from a disciplined, 6-phase process that started with a clear business question and ended with a real business outcome. Which, of course, brings this whole thing back to you. We've seen how this playbook works. We've seen it deliver results. So the final question is, what's that one big important question sitting inside your data, just waiting for the right playbook to come along and unlock the answer?